That's Thin Lizzy from their album Johnny the Fox, and it's the first cut. I guess the introductory story about Johnny before they get into all his adventures. And I'm happy to say that I have two members, 50% anyway, of Thin Lizzy visiting me in the studio here. It's Scott and Phil.
Right.
And welcome.
Hi.
I suppose I should say Tin Lizzy, shouldn't I?
Well, thin'll do.
Well, it's the origin is Irish, isn't it? Irish?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Irish.
Yeah. And the rest of the boys, the other two?
Brian Downey, the drummer, he's Irish.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Robertson, he's Scottish.
Scottish. And Phil?
I'm American.
I mean, huh?
I'm American.
Uh-huh. No accent at all. I always wondered whether, when I said it should be Tin Lizzy, like in America, Tin Lizzy's an old car. An old beat-up car used to be called a Tin Lizzy.
Right.
Yeah, right. What's a Thin Lizzy?
There was a magazine in Ireland called The Beano. There was a female robot in that magazine called Tin Lizzy. And it was spelled Tinlizzie. We just switched it around, added in the H because we were Irish, and it would pronounce Tin Lizzy anyway.
Tin Lizzy, that's what I thought. I was right. Okay. You really have an awful cold, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's not an Irish cold, it's an American cold, isn't it?
It's the flu, I think.
It's the flu. Everybody's got it. It's the weather's been bad, and there's no way to get around it. Who does the writing in Thin Lizzy? Is it a collaboration, a little of this, a little of that? Or do you all sit down together and say, okay, guys, what should we write about now?
Well, Phil does the majority of the writing. I've got a few songs on there, but the ones that you see my name after, it's mostly just because of the music side of it. When I do have a song, I'll always bring it to Phil and ask him what he can do with it lyric-wise. And he'll say, okay, and he'll work out a theme for it, hand me the sheet and say, well, what do you think of this? And I say, well, that's great, and then it'll start from there, but it's mainly Phil that writes all the lyrics.
In other words, the concepts for the album are yours.
Well, yeah, the lyrics, yeah.
That's interesting. How long have you been writing? Did you write poetry when you were young?
I have a book of poetry.
Oh, I'd love to
on
have
release, and I'll get you a copy.
Oh, I'd love to, because I read poetry a lot on my show at night.
I have another book coming out fairly soon. I mean, it's mainly lyrics as opposed to poetry, but I mean, it reads.
Well, lyrics are poetry. I mean, that's. I find that a lot of people who became songwriters were really poets for opening, for openers. Were you that way as a young child, always?
No, it started when I got blown out by a girl, and that was it. I figured the world should know about it, and that started me,
But I assume that you've long since gotten over that girl.
Oh, yeah.
And yet your talent and a few more besides, and yet your talent continues. We have an American songwriter called Jimmy Webb. I'm sure you've heard of him. He wrote MacArthur Park and Up, Up and Away. And Jimmy's best songs were written in the throes of a defunct romance with a girl. And when he finally got over it, he hasn't had a real big hit since. So it's nice that you could continue,
long may it continue, says I.
Long may it continue. Okay, whether the girl accepts you or rejects you.
As long as the girls are there.
As long as the girls are there, okay. Scott, how did you get connected with an Irish-Scotch group?
Well, I moved to England about 3.5 years ago. Because I'm originally from California, and I moved over to England just out of musical boredom from California. I guess I got a little bit lazy over there, and I figured that England would be a place to have a fresh start.
Yeah, what was happening?
So I moved over there, and I started my own band over there called Fast Buck, and I had a guy from St. Louis, a guy from Georgia, myself, and another English guy. And I knocked around the pub circuit for about 6 months, and I met various other musicians going around there, people that knew Phil, that knew the management, and it was sort of a word of mouth thing. They told me about Thin Lizzy looking for a guitar player, and they also told Thin Lizzy about me. So it finally came to the point where I got a phone call saying, "Do you want to come down?" I said, "Yeah, great." And
by that time, it was a fait accompli, right? Yeah, very happy circumstance. We're going to take a word here, gentlemen, with your permission for, take a pause, I should say, for a word from Army Reserve. Johnny the Fox is the album, and that cut is Johnny the Fox meets Jimmy the Weed. Marvelous stories by Thin Lizzy, and we're visiting with Scott and Phil, one half of the organization. And I'm delighted to see that Phil dragged himself out of bed because he's got a bad cold. Now, what happens when you have a cold like this about performing? I mean, do you still go on?
Yeah, I just go on and croak away.
You just go on and croak away? Gosh, that's the awful thing about being a performer, is that whether or not you feel well or sick, or whether it's a holiday or it isn't, you still have to go on. Do you ever kind of think about maybe you wish you'd been something else?
No, really. I studied when I was younger to be an architect, and sometimes I wish I could get into that a bit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But insofar as getting into the music industry, I mean, once you get into it, I don't think
you can get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's with all the pitfalls and the parts that you don't like. I guess once you get it in your blood. But what about a future? I mean, Thin Lizzy has been coming up now. They have captured the fancy of the fans, and they get more important with every album. What do you think the eventual future for a rock group like Thin Lizzy can be?
I don't know, really. I mean, we never...
You never think about it?
It was never a master plan that we
Mm-hmm.
go out and become successful. Obviously, I mean, we wanted to become successful.
Mm-hmm.
But when it happened to us, it was a great surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And now all we really want to do is take the audience that we have, that are into us,
Mm-hmm.
and continue on sort of playing what we want to play,
Yeah.
and hope that they like it, you know. I mean... and if that means that we have to succeed more, because obviously in the music industry, you either succeed or fail, you know. So
Well, any industry, it's only two ways to go.
yeah, so we will be trying to become bigger and better at what we do.
Well, that's I'd say that's a very normal feeling. We're going to take a moment here. I have a message from my friends about Army Reserve, and then Thin Lizzy, an old flame from Johnny the Fox. Could that be the old flame that started all this?
One of them.
One of them. Oh, he's got a lot of old flames, Phil. We were talking a moment ago about future, and you said you just want to play and keep the audience happy. You know, in a lot of other branches of show business, there's always something more to reach for. In other words, when an actress begins, she's happy with a walk-on and then a little bit part, and then she wants a meaty role, and then she wants to win the Academy Award. And what's the ultimate for a band? I mean, what, when you reach it, will you consider the apogee, the epitome of success?
I mean, I've already achieved most of the success I want. I just like to continue on doing it, you know. I mean, when I write a song,
Mm-hmm.
if I can get a thought that's in my head onto a piece of plastic, right, and then it goes out on the radio or on the sound system, and somebody listening to it gets the same message from that same piece of plastic,
Yeah.
I've achieved what I've wanted to do. You know, the same with the poetry. If I can get it in print and the same thing happens, then I'm achieving what I want to do. And as I go through different head trips, you know, I mean, and put down different things, I mean, the whole thing is communication. I write basically out of a feeling to share, whether it be sort of love or aggression or whatever it is I'm writing about at the time. So, like, if I succeed at that, then I'm succeeding at what I want to do. And if I become successful by doing this, then I think, you know, I've really got it made. You know, I'm getting paid for nothing.
Gentlemen, I have a message from my friends about Army Reserve, and then I want everybody to hear more of Johnny the Fox.